What's up guys, it's Doug. Welcome to the channel if you are new, welcome back if you are not new. Look, first off, I apologize if I'm getting this video to you guys later than I had previously promised. I'm still working on adjusting my recording schedule to the times when the day is at its coolest point because it is, like I said, extremely hot. Like right now, it is literally about to hit 10 p.m. and this has been the coolest that it's been all day, and it is 81 degrees outside right now. So it's really insane how hot it's been. Just absolutely no way I could be in this room with the door shut, even with the fan pointed at me, recording, because it basically just turns into a giant oven. So again, I apologize. Just wanted to get that out of the way. We're gonna listen to JPEGMAFIA. A lot of you guys have asked for this for a long time. You guys deserve it. You've waited long enough. I've waited long enough to give this a listen. You guys have prefaced this by saying that it's got some really crazy production on it. It's got some really experimental sounds. I'm just ready to absorb and take in what JPEGMAFIA has for us on his project, Veteran. Really quick before we get into it though, I'm going to be doing another Putting Y'all On video. I want to promote one of you guys. So head to my Instagram, send me links to your projects, to your music, or maybe a buddy of yours' music, and I will listen to it, and you might end up on a video of Putting Y'all On. And as you all know, we're all about coming up and bringing others with us. I want to put you guys on to Odin's TV. He's got a really dope channel. He's doing some awesome reactions, putting out some quality content. So a huge shout out to you. You might want to head over to his channel after this video and check out some of his stuff. Really cool stuff. So with that being said, let's just get right into it. JPEGMAFIA, Veteran. Track 1 is 1539 North Calvert. I think it's an address. So let's get it.
Yeah.
Really smooth keys, man. Some really cool melodies going on right now. I love the kicks. Oh, that was interesting.
I'm talking shit, you catch a beat down.
Okay.
Never in the hood or in the streets now. Get paid. These are making niggas dance.
Hey.
Fuck 12 niggas down.
Ooh. Okay. Alright. So it says here he wrote it, mixed it, mastered it, produced it. Impressive. I like that he can do it all himself. It's a really quick track. It's a really short intro to this project. It's got some really cool melodies going on. It's got some really interesting keys. We've got a couple of really cool sound bites in there. Overall, the track feels really cool. It feels really interesting to listen to. I love the way that the kicks and the hi-hats play off each other. I think it's really interestingly produced. The only thing that I will say, the only real criticism I have of it, is that his voice is quiet, you know? It's not standing out enough from the rest of the instruments to really help me to understand what it is he's saying or what it is, you know, he's talking about. Probably it would sound a little better with headphones on, but since I'm listening on the speaker, you know, his voice does kind of get lost a little bit in the instrumentals. So I'm going to be keeping an ear out for that, you know, for the mixes on these, because although it is impressive that he produces, writes it, mixes, and masters it, I am looking for quality mixes. You know, I want to be able to at least be able to hear your voice stand out from the instruments, you know? That being the only criticism that I have of the track is great, because that's not a really bad criticism. It's an easy fix, you know, some compression, a little bit of volume, boom, problem solved. So next track is Real Nigga. Okay, loving his energy, loving the flow, loving the drums. Not a fan of the screaming sample. I'm loving these fills, man. This is great. This part is awesome. The best part of this track is the instrumental outro, and that's not because his performance was bad or anything like that. I actually think his performance was great. I love his energy. I love the delivery. I love the flow. You know, I really like his verse. It's just that sample going on in the background. You know, that operatic yelling almost. You know, it doesn't even sound like it's singing really. It just kind of ruins it for me. It doesn't do it for me. You know, the drums are awesome. The guitars that come in at the end, if they are guitars, they sound really cool on the outro. But other than that, yeah, it's just it kind of falls flat for me. This track. Next track is Thug Tears. What is that? That's not static. What sound is that? Oh, this is intriguing. I like this. This is better. What is that crackling sound? The instrument that's playing that main melody, what is that? Is that some sort of synth made to sound like it almost sounds like one of those I forget the name of it now. Is it pan drum? It almost sounds like that, almost. What is that? It's really interesting. I like it.
So deep like a cat. Bitch, I'm
loving the percussion, man. Whoa, the bass.
Talk shit.
That bass is insane.
Dust off them ratchets. We got some.
I don't know whether I like the crackling sound or not, but it's interesting. It's not a deal breaker. So creatively produced, man. I love the way he incorporates the bongos and the conga drums along with the kick and the snare to really create this kind of drum pattern that just feels like it never stops. You know, it almost feels like there's always some sort of percussion going on at every point in the track. The crackling is interesting. I'm still neutral on it. It's not a deal breaker for me, but I still don't know whether I like it. I'm gonna have to listen to it again, but that main melody, whatever instrument he used to create that, is absolutely awesome, super interesting, super intriguing to me, the way that it sounds, you know, it immediately caught my attention. This track kind of jumps around all over the place, you know, I'm really struggling to get into his style, you know? Like, I'm enjoying the production and I'm enjoying breaking it down, but I don't know how replayable these tracks are for me. I'll probably decide that better on my second listen while I'm editing it. For now, those are my opinions on this track. By the time you're watching the video, my opinion might have already changed. But for now, in this moment, those are my opinions. Track 4 is Deum. Okay, so according to Genius, this is an instrumental. So let's just try and break this down. Man, is it hot in here. The electronic samples that he uses really remind me of Yeezus. This is really eerie. So that was a really short interlude. It's actually got very minimal production to it. There's sound, like white noise almost, going on in the background. This chant going on, this really eerie chant, with very minimal electronic production. It's interesting, you know, it's not bad by any means. It's just really different and interesting. I have no idea what to say. This is crazy. Next track is Baby I'm Bleeding. Production really has me like dumbfounded, honestly. Like, well, what can I say about that? It was 1 minute and 30 seconds of mostly nothing, but I liked it. You know, it's weird. Anyways, next track. It's tough not liking tracks on an album that has been so heavily recommended to me, you know? But it's just, I can see the appeal because it's different and experimental and it's artsy, and I can understand why so many people enjoy it. But it's just, to me, it just doesn't do it for me, you know? Brockhampton makes really cool, experimental, artsy tracks, but I can understand them, you know? I don't understand what he's doing with this intro. Like, I'm not enjoying the samples, you know? I'm not enjoying this introduction. It's just, it's been 40 seconds of noise, you know? I don't want to sound like I'm bashing the track already. I'm only 40 seconds into it, but I just want to make it clear that my struggle with this is not that I find it bad, it's just that I'm not really understanding the art. Because none of these tracks have been bad. They've just been so different and maybe too experimental for my taste personally.
Peggy, where you been at? Getting on this promo. When it comes to money, bet these niggas is a no-show. I've been chilling with my feet on.
I don't like that sample.
Niggas drop BS when I say rap with a Kimber. All you yucky persons get swiped.
And it sucks to me. Now I'm frustrated because the beat is so sick, you know? That snare with a little bit of the static on it, you know, it sounds so Kanye-ish. This track, the drums on this, they're so awesome. But that sample is just killing it for me. And that was the case on that other track as well that I mentioned that I didn't like the sample going on. The yelling sample. The drums, the drum programming has been really impressive so far on this project. It's just the sampling is just so weird. And his delivery and performance is always awesome as well.
White boy better put his hands up. Hold up, promise I will never go on like Kanye. Got so many styles, they should call me Peggy AJ.
Yeah, man. Look, the drums, his performance, his delivery, his lyrics, all great. That sample killed this track for me. You guys come to me for honesty, and that's what you're getting. It's not for me, man. Next track is my thoughts on NeoGaf dying.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care cars. I don't care about your flash. I don't care about your phone. I don't care about the beats. I don't breeze. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Give a fuck up. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
It's a minute and 30 seconds long, so I want to treat it like an interlude, but really it's just boring. That's just a boring track. Next track is Rock and Roll is Dead.
11. This baby all day long.
All these tracks have had like almost minute-long introductions that just really make no sense. And it doesn't really feel necessary to me.
Bang! Hit him with the heart. Now fucking jump, whip him with the strap. I've been on the fucking road. I just hit the rock and roll. We rap, yes, we don't fuck, we're all right. Y'all ain't never been a threat. If y'all come to Baltimore, we gon' stick a funny racks. We gonna chop that shit back like put hands on the water. How many cars does it take to make this shit easy?
Yeah, 40-second long introduction that doesn't make sense, and then like a minute or so of really energetic and really great performance. I'm not gonna lie, his delivery, his energy, his performance, really great. His verse, the subject matter, awesome. He sounds very passionate about what he's talking about, but the beat is boring because the drum pattern is great, but there's just really weird sounds going on where there could be a melody, you know, to make it a song. It doesn't feel like a song, you know. It feels almost like I'm listening to spoken word, you know, or poetry. And if that's his intention, then props to you because that's the way it came across. But if your intention was to make this a song that is replayable and appealing to my type of listener, you know, then no, it's going to be a no from me. The second half of the track was a little more interesting because there was at least some chords going on over the top, but still not extremely interesting to listen to. So for this track, what I'm going to have to say is subject matter, A+, delivery, A+, you know, energy, emotion, passion, A+, but just replayability, none. Zero replayability for me. Definitely a track that I am glad that I listened to because the message is great, but I probably won't feel any need or desire to go back and listen to it again. DD Form 214. Already getting some really cool vocals from Bobby Rush here. You know, in the mix, I feel like her vocals could be louder. I'm really pleased with the vocals that we're getting. It's a breath of fresh air to hear someone else on these tracks with an actual melody on the beat. With it sounds, like an actual song. What I'm not liking is that the volume in the track seems to be going up and down, and her voice kind of sounds like closer than farther and closer than farther, and it's really disorienting. I wish we could just get her singing,
I'm doing favors for petty pay. Run through the track like I'm Circle Lane. All of this pain that I feel inside.
Yeah, his voice is really low in the beat, man.
Bagging these bitches, I'm working beat. You think your is hurting me? Homie, come back when you get to my rank.
I lose interest as time goes on in the track because at first it sounds really interesting to me. It sounds like a song. Yeah, we get some really smooth vocals from Bobby Rush, and it's exciting to hear a feature. Production is smooth and all that, but then the vocals are really low. The lyrics begin to get lost in the actual production of the track, and then you have the volume going up and down throughout the entire thing, and even cutting out at certain points. And you really begin to lose what's being said, and then it goes on for a really long time. It gets to a point where Bobby's performance feels kind of lazy, and then JPEGMAFIA comes in, and his verse is again great. I love the wordplay, I love the delivery, I love the performance, but his vocals are just so quiet. You begin to lose interest. You begin to zone out and not really want to listen anymore. Next track is Germs.
Whoa. Off top, bitch, I'm rolling. Can't stay focused, I'm hopeless. Home alone, my color code. Me hardy, my gun, get
I feel like the beat skipped there. Not liking the performance on this. The delivery is weird.
Fuck these niggas.
It's no shade.
No shade at all, baby.
Us, not us. I'ma make him put his guard up. Jesus, hot sauce with the cross up. I finesse him with a better body.
This is better. It's just too weird for me. It's just too weird. The second verse was better. I like the delivery more. The first delivery on the first verse was... His delivery on the first verse was iffy for me, it was really weird. His voice is low enough in the mix already. I don't need him whispering on a track. It just sounds bad to me, to my ear. But yeah, this is just a really weird track. Next is Libtard Anthem. These don't even really sound like songs. This is actually really weird, what I'm listening to. It's just strange.
Word in the street, you're a libtard. Heard rate makes you get hard. Word in the street, you're a rock star.
Did you just say heard rape makes you get hard?
I start off your top down, burn out, finger out. I ain't gon' feel bad. Word on the street, you're a libtard. Word on the street, you say get hard.
I hate that track. That's a terrible track. I had been saying that a lot of the previous songs, they weren't necessarily bad, they were just really different and weird and edgy and experimental, and they just didn't make sense to me, but that I could see the appeal to them and that they weren't bad tracks, they were just really different. That's a bad track. That track sucks. Next track is Panic Emoji. I'm liking this guitar. Really bright. I'm enjoying it. Love the beat, love the pan flute. This sounds better to me.
Keep moving. I'm the new shit. To the face with
I'm liking this beat a lot more than the previous ones. It's got a consistent melody, pan flute, bass line that's really cool, hard hitting. I like the drums. What I'm not liking here is the mix. He's got way too much reverb on his voice. His voice is very quiet, and it doesn't even feel like it's a part of the rest of the song.
Crackers keep calling me aces. I put a stain on the hook. Only a piece of space. You ain't never hit it.
I don't like that the tracks keep cutting out like that.
Ooh, you fucking mad, cause I'm counting swag. Ooh, yeah, nigga.
And now his delivery sounds lazy. Yeah, you know, despite my criticism of this track, I really think that it's probably been one of the better ones that I've heard so far. It's got a consistent melody, it's got some really cool instruments on it, bass line's dope, beat hits hard. His delivery for the most part is cool. It sounds kind of lazy on the last verse. I still don't really feel like I want to listen to it again, but it sounds better to me than the previous tracks. Now it is about a panic attack, so the reason for his voice kind of feeling more detached from the beat than on the previous tracks might be to emulate, you know, feeling detached from your surroundings or from yourself, or kind of like that sense of despair of having no control when you have a panic attack. It might be for that reason. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt on this one because on the previous tracks, his voice at least felt like it was part of the song. It just wasn't loud enough. So there might be a reason for the way that it's mixed the way that it is here. You know, the amount of reverb on it and all that. But still, to justify it with a reason and give him the benefit of the doubt, I can't be sure that that's really the reason why, you know. And so technically, this is poorly mixed. And yeah, this is track 12. Let's go.
Yeah, I can deal with all these sudden motions. Mac highest area, updates is frozen. Crouching in the bushes like I'm jail posing. That blood of my money, but ain't a stain on me. Nah, rich racer, no games for me.
Yeah.
New money, new hat. Cops must have to give them bad.
On this one right now, I'm liking the verse. I'm not liking the production. Yeah, it's interestingly produced. I like the experimentation with the static. I like, you know, how different he is trying to be, and I like that he's trying to set himself apart by creating a different sound. But I just don't like the beat, you know? Like, I get and I respect that he's different and that he's got his sound and he's experimental and it's his art. I respect that. By all means, continue doing it. You've got a huge following. You're probably making lots of money off of it. So yeah, keep doing your thing. It's just not for me, you know? I like the verse though. Verse was tight. Track 13, Whole Foods. I'm not liking that squeaking sound. It's really high pitched and it hurts my ears.
Shit, I need to mention. Stop pretending. Tricky fucking late like a side. Hold up, fucking talk, I had to do it. Reviewers looking stupid, stick to music. I am the black god, fucking doing stick.
When the kick hits, it's almost like his vocals are side-chained to the kick, because when the kick hits, his vocals just cut out and come back in. I don't want that to be the case, you know? I don't want to hear more bass than vocals. I want to hear what you've got to say, you know? Because on a track that's produced like this, and has no melody, the bass isn't more interesting to me than your voice is, than what you're saying, you know, than your lyricism. So, I don't know if it's intentional, I don't know why that is, that it's like that, but I need more vocals from him. Those chords are just a breath of fresh air, man.
Fuck that. Scully, how to keep the room. Trust that. I whip like Billy Boosted. Bust ass, been legit since I smashed Caruso.
Nice. I love these video game references.
So I zip them up, put them in a bag like a.
That squeaking sound, man. Yeah, just a couple of the sound choices. I mean, that squeaking sound is so harsh in those higher frequencies, man. It's just this really sharp stinging almost in my ear when that sound comes in, man. To get to a point where even hearing any sort of melody on the track is a breath of fresh air, it is like a relief. I've never had that experience on an album before, you know? Where any bit of melodic instrumentals make me like perk up and just feel like this relief that there's some sort of chord or a couple notes to listen to over this really dramatic beat, you know, these harsh bass, gritty drums, you know, that like they just scream and cry out for keys, for horns, for melody, for something to make them replayable, you know? You need a bit of melody in these tracks. You just do. Macaulay Culkin. Guitars. Thank you.
What's up? I got boobs, chest open. Travel down the road and back again. My girl's golden. Black man, Jason Jordan. Play my albums front to back and make it feel important. I think I'm Rick and Morty.
I love this.
Snipe them out, burn
The guitar's so smooth.
Guns, Mulder and Scully. I'm solving mysteries. Feminist, pistol whip with simple speed. Where that? Slap a nigga.
Steve Austin.
Then I get it. These punk niggas be killing me. That whack shit ain't true to me. Fuck y'all niggas, I take the heat. Gone shit.
Again with the squeaking sounds. This outro ain't it, but the rest of the track is awesome. Yeah, that's my favorite so far. It's probably got the best mix. His vocals stand out here. I can understand everything he's saying. Love the guitar. Love the drums. Love how mellow it is. I love how simple it is. How beautiful it sounds. It still manages to sound experimental. It still manages to sound different. This is more what I'm looking for, you know? This track is just great until we get to the outro and it's just that squeaking sound that hurts my ears again. But yeah, it's an awesome track. I like that one. Williamsburg.
Selling art to these yuppies getting mixed offers. I'm in New York like I'm Peter Parker. I was 16, then I tossed it.
Real quick, yo, Murphy just commented on my Iridescence video. Please react to JPEGMAFIA's Veteran, craziest production ever. I'd have to agree. Crazy for sure. Not necessarily in a good way, but yeah, shout out to you, Murphy.
Oh, you pop shit, call a gun, Brittany G. When the spears come out, I hit you and JT. You yuppies ain't real, let you live for a fee. Get your mic snatched, nicotine patch. Call my wife, what's up, get your life hacked. Can you stop, drop me?
I love the metaphors. The wordplay is great. Yeah, I don't like this part of the track. The beginning was cool. Yeah, you know, this track, on the beginning, it basically had like almost no beat. But I liked it because it felt like spoken word, it felt like poetry. Since the beat was really understated, I was able to be more accepting of the spoken word type of verse. Whereas, it didn't have a bunch of crazy sounds going on and no melody. That would have been worse, but since the beat was just so understated and he was just talking, I enjoyed it. I loved his verse. I love the wordplay. I love the metaphors. I love his lyricism. Production gets really weird and goes into the second verse where he's kind of like doing this singing thing that just doesn't hit home for me. So the first half of that track is probably the highlight of it for me, personally. This next track's title is already like really weird. Let's go.
Tom's hard, Morrissey, yeah, bunch of timid white, who can't fuck with me, please, fucking niggas talking, it's a killing spree, pull up on a cracker, bumpin' low key, God, Hades, 26 with a fresh 380, I'll show you exactly how we do it down in the country, baby, look down the roots, and on my dick, cause I'm magic.
So this track feels satirical, at least I hope it is, because otherwise it's just really silly and goofy and not good. So if it's a satirical track, cool, but what's the point of having it on your album? If it's not a satirical track, then it's just a bad track. Next track is Rainbow Six. The sample is so weird, man.
Bullet on the block with the Glock hot. This one got straight drop. Bullet on the block with the Glock hot. I got the straight drop. Pull up on your block with the pistol. Slap you up, nigga, little boy, dismiss. I don't give a fuck, right? Punch you with some.
I don't like that the beat cuts out.
I take a stub, grab your fucking up, nigga, put you in the trunk. Nigga, I take it to the dump.
This production is maybe a little too experimental for my taste.
Put him in his place. I'ma have to teach you, baby. I'ma have to give him some ways.
A lot of you guys might be really disappointed right now. It's a no from me, man. I mean, it doesn't sound good to me, you know? It sucks, but it just doesn't sound good to me. Next track is 1488. Forgive me for the kids screaming in the background. They're all outside and playing, so. The guitar sounds amazing. love that chord progression.
Oh, you ain't got your flag now, nigga, what? No badge, no gun, you was not tough. Got the vanilla M4 with the big nuts.
Yeah.
2 Sam, whip it like Big Buck.
Dang!
On the hush. I heard that your mama, sister, auntie, getting touched.
Not liking the hook.
I make a family quick. Kill 'em or give 'em the beats. We want the gun that you see, nigga.
Yeah.
Head on the right, and that is belly too.
Yeah, so I like both of the verses. I love the guitar intro. Take both the hooks out and that weird intro. Oh, outro, excuse me. And we've got a really solid track. That's how I feel about it. Last track of this project is Curb Stomp. Let's get it. I'm not liking that main melody. Sounds weird to me. This is just weird to me. Yeah, so he's curb stomping neo-Nazis in this track. I think we can all agree. Nazis kind of suck, like a lot. I don't know if curb stomping them is the way to go, but yeah, they suck. We share that sentiment at least, but other than that, there's just nothing really that I like about this track. Look, man, this project, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I am sad for all of you who asked for me to review this project because I know how much you wanted me to like it. And I can't apologize for my opinion because you come to me for honesty, you come to me for an honest review of the project, and that's what I'm going to give you out of respect for you and out of respect for the artists that are making this music. This project is a work of art that I did not fully understand on my first listen. It is extremely experimental. There were aspects that I liked, aspects that I did not like, and I have just come to the conclusion after 19 tracks that it's just a little too much on the experimental side of things for my personal taste. It's the same reason I haven't done reactions to Death Grips. I've listened to some of their stuff and they are just a little too far out there for me. And so I just don't feel like making a video on something that I am already a little bit biased towards wouldn't really turn out good. I had no idea what to expect going into this, which is why I made the video. But when I sense that I have a little bit of a bias towards a certain type of sound, I avoid making videos on it so that I can give you guys as honest an opinion and as unbiased an opinion as possible. This doesn't sound like music to me. It sounds like art, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, I don't think that this project is bad in any way. I just don't think that it's my personal taste in music. So this is definitely, it's different, it's conceptual, it's experimental, it's out there, it's edgy, you know, and it's just not something that I personally would like to go back and listen to again. So, am I glad that I gave it a listen at least? Yes, absolutely, because like I mentioned before earlier in the video, a lot of the subject matter that was presented on this is really great. The lyricism is outstanding. I like the delivery. Like, I would say 80 to 85% of this project, his delivery is spot on. I love his wordplay. You know, I love his ability to paint these pictures with his words. But it's just the production on this album is just way too far out there for my personal taste. So that's what I think. Social media is on screen. Hit me up on Instagram with links to your music, and I will give you my honest opinion on your work, whatever you'd like me to listen to. You might end up on a video of putting y'all on. That'd be really dope. I want to say thank you to you all for watching this video, for sticking with me to the end. And look, I'll be back very soon with watching movies with the sound off. I'll see y'all soon. Peace.